All right. We're live now. I'm gonna make sure the audio is going. I'm gonna tell chat that we won't be answering questions from chat at all. We'll just be talking amongst ourselves because these are just meant to be, listened to.
There is no chat.
There is no chat. It died. This chat is dead.
The chat is dead.
I'm gonna make sure it works.
No! Y'all working?
We won't be answering questions. Okay, it seems to be working. I'll put my audio. Can I put? I think my audio. Ah! Okay, there it goes. I think it's fine now. All right. All right. Podcast won't acknowledge. This podcast won't acknowledge the chat during the stream, but we will appreciate your feedback. And we already got two people. We have
who ruined my smiley face on the.
We will appreciate your feedback
It's a hat now.
and
No.
attendance.
Hats are nice.
Oh, it's a hat.
What, did you think it was balls?
Yes.
How immature do you take me? It would have had to have a D at the end.
Okay. We already got 4 people watching. This is great. All right.
Nice.
Not me just
Before we-
casually sending the link to friends.
Before we officially start, guys, I think Persona 4 remake is happening. Only 3 voice actors of the original cast have said they're not coming back. I think Persona 4 remake is real.
Really?
Oh, neat.
Cool.
But what is going on? Don't NDAs exist?
No.
They're supposed to,
What are
I
you talking
think.
about? What are you talking about? NDAs are... That's your imagination. You are imagining things.
Here, I'm gonna start on our little Discord server. I'm gonna start a channel for uploads of our podcast, so you guys can like spread the link around if you want to get people
That'd be
listening
perfect.
in. All right, so I guess since we're streaming these, we won't be able to really avoid like this kind of start time, but this like where we're just kind of setting it up, but that's okay. All right, we'll get into
Anyways,
it
we
soon.
should probably introduce ourselves, my dear friends.
Yeah. So first, I got started. How? You know what? Here, I'm gonna read the little intro that we have here. Once I say joined by, you guys just say your names.
Right.
And all right. So
In the order they're listed on the doc.
yes. Sure.
Okay,
You could
that
say
works.
if you could say your real names or you could say your usernames, whatever you'd like. So
Yes.
hello, everyone, and welcome to Pens and Palettes Podcast, the official hobby-themed podcast of the Looney Submarine. We mostly focus on art, media, and other crafts or topics about pop culture in our world. Today, we're joined by myself, MT.
Also joined by me, Jonathan, though some may know me as Keeper.
I am here, Hazame. Both call me just Connor.
Me, Bailey, also known as Glitch Tricks.
And today's topic, we'll start with an introduction to ourselves, but our main topic will be indie animation versus corporate animation. Which is better? Let's get started. So our introduction, we're just going to be talking about like our favorite media.
Get to know us.
Yeah, get to
Yeah.
know us. So if you watch this channel, you already kind of know me. Since I'm the host of this YouTube channel, I don't really need to introduce myself that much, but I'll let everyone else have an opportunity. And you know what? I guess we could follow the order that we have on the doc just to keep things organized. So John, you can go first. Introduce yourself in the way you'd like.
Honestly, I'm not sure how I'd want to introduce myself.
The only thing you have listed on the doc is Lupin the Third.
That's right, because we're
And
gonna
Star
talk.
Wars.
We're gonna talk about our favorite media. I mean, we don't have to do personal introductions. I guess we could just go straight into like what we have written here. Talk about our favorite media. Defend what you like. Critique what you dislike. we have some shows here listed.
Well, and
Yeah, we-
games and movies.
Train track.
Yeah, games, movies. So yeah, I
Games,
guess
movies. Lines. Let's go.
So
I'm drawing a blank. Anyone else want to actually go first?
Lupin 3 is like the first one stated. I feel like you and Connor
That is
could.
that would be a us topic, honestly, since we both love.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
we both love Lupin, Red Dead.
Yeah. So I guess kind of talk about what you like about it, what you dislike about it. Keep it brief, I guess.
Okay. Well, I know the one big thing I dislike about it is how obscure it is over here in the States. I wish it was a lot
Boy,
more
I know that
popular.
feeling.
I know that feeling about a lot of things too.
With how old and classic Lupin is, you'd think it'd be more popular.
I know.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's not more popular because of copyright issues, actually.
Oh yeah.
Because of the original Arsène Lupin, the story from Maurice Leblanc in France that the anime Lupin the Third is based on.
Yeah, he was Rupon, or not Rupon.
Yeah, he was.
Wolf.
He was Rupon, Wolf, Cliff Jumper.
Cliff Jumper. That come from?
Hang on, that's a
so
Transformers name.
like those how they used to have arcade games back in the day that would like be a mix of like an animation and an arcade. Like I think it was Dragon's Lair is the popular example.
Yes, I love Dragon Slayer.
Lupin the Third had one of those.
Oh, really?
And it was, based on Castle of Cagliostro. But, to avoid copyright, they called him Cliff Jumper.
Wow.
Yeah, basically for, like, Lupin copyright issues, the name of Arsène Lupin used to be still under copyright law in America. So when Lupin was coming out in, like, the 70s and stuff, he could not be called Lupin. So he never really took off in America until, like, recently, where since Arsène Lupin is public domain now, he can come over to America with his full name, Arsène Lupin III.
Wow. There you go. Let's see. I guess
And
next. What? Yeah, you can go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna move on to the next thing, but you can add an extra comment if you wanna.
And it was mostly to say, like, other stuff I liked about the show is, it has really good characterization for what is often an episodic show.
Yeah.
Like, all the characters get fleshed out. Like, even if you just jump in at any random point, most likely you're still gonna be able to pick up on what all the characters are like.
Nice. That's cool. I like
And then,
to
of
see
course,
that in the show.
just the music of the shows, because it's like it's like a hybrid of multiple different genres of jazz.
Yeah, I've heard plenty of the music. It's really good.
Yeah, so you've got you've got noir, you've got swing, you've got samba.
Right.
It's like
Nice.
the whole cacophony of like different music types.
Part 6 is
A lot of
opening with
American
Lupin.
music influence.
That's cool. We will be talking a lot more about like animes in general later on in like future episodes of the podcast. So we'll definitely be able to like break into Lupin even further. So I guess just to move things along here, I'm not gonna talk about everything I listed. Shows I like. I really like Steven Universe, Adventure Time, Breaking Bad, Supernatural, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Friends. So that's just like some of the top ones.
A lot of Western media, I've noticed.
Yeah, a lot of Western media. I mean, I like some anime too. I like other there's even some Spanish show I remember liking. I don't remember the name of it. But I tend to gravitate towards cartoon shows myself, but I do also like live action shows a lot. Like Breaking Bad, Supernatural, Buffy, like they're amazing. They just have good writing, amazing actors. And Buffy and Supernatural start being a little cheesy, but they get really good. So we have the only section in movies, defend what you like, critique what you dislike about Star Wars.
Oh, goodness.
The sequels.
shall
Those are what I
all be set
dislike.
We shall all be set
Ooh,
ablaze.
the sequels.
Wait, didn't Star Trek have movies?
Star Trek, yeah, Star Trek had movies. I haven't seen them yet. I've only seen like the first couple seasons of the original series because and my girlfriend haven't we haven't caught up yet.
Should we bring up the fact that literally 3 of the characters fit perfectly into the Homestuck quadrants thing?
I do.
Just the LF.
Oh. Oh, yeah, that's right. You didn't know. You don't know. I'm a Homestuck fan.
Yeah, we have a Homestuck fan.
And my favorite part to discuss about anything is literally how troll relationships work, because I find them to be so funny.
Wow. I don't know much about Homestuck, but I've heard a lot of great things about it.
Oh, there's a lot of great things. I can definitely confirm that after being in the fandom for a little while, they are very vicious, though.
Yeah, I've heard the fandom is pretty crazy. Oh, and that's another topic we will discuss like in future episodes. We have it all laid out. We'll talk about fandoms because oh man, that's a whole.
We have a nice little handful of episodes planned out.
Yeah.
But nothing too concrete, though.
Right. What about games? I feel like Star Wars is self-explanatory. We have a lot listed under games. Fields of Mystria and Stardew Valley. I played Stardew Valley.
I've played Stardew.
Stardew Valley. I love Stardew Valley so freaking much. I am obsessed with it. I love the cozy gaming.
Me too. I really gotta get it on PC because I started playing it on Xbox and I abandoned it for too long.
1.6 just barely came out for that.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
1.6 just barely came out for that, but there's a couple of quality of life things that came with the more recent bug updates and stuff like that. A lot more creature comforts.
I see.
Such as stuff actually floating on water if you drop it now.
Oh, wow.
Which is very handy,
nice.
especially for that one particular tree in Cindersnap Forest.
Mm-hmm.
So you mean like all your stuff doesn't just get immediately erased if it falls into the water?
No, you have at least a couple seconds to grab it.
Oh, that's good.
That is amazing. That is.
And the
Thank
stuff
you.
that's one time. And there's even a recovery system for like the one-time items, like the hero of the town trophy statue thing that you get for completing the community center. They have a thing to recover that too if you lose that.
Nice.
Ooh,
It just costs you like 10,000 gold.
nice. Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, you just go into the secret woods and find a crow.
Dang. Next on the list, we have Minecraft being unfathomably based. There is not much I dislike about Minecraft, other than like maybe just some people in the fandom, and of course, being obliterated by a creeper and losing all your stuff. That's like the only thing I dislike about Minecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's happened to everyone.
We don't talk about the Minecraft YouTubers.
Oh, the Minecraft, that's a whole can of worms. I will keep
Yeah.
the can opener away from. That's
Especially
please do. I
today
don't
of all
think-
days.
Throw out the can of
Yeah.
Oh my
burner,
God.
throw out the can, burn the house down. We're not touching that.
Everyone,
let's
get ready to commit arson. I have the gasoline.
Yay. Let's take Stampy and Dan TDM, set them aside. They'll
Yeah.
Captain Sparkles
They're the special
maybe.
exceptions.
They're the special exceptions. They'll be okay.
Yeah, you can just take them to the side, give them a new Lego set.
Stampy-
They earned it.
Yeah, Stampy
Yes.
can do no wrong. I mean, the way he handled Elfer Lee in that
That was
situation,
beautiful.
yeah. No, we
That was a
stand
way that people
Stampy.
could physically comprehend it too, in a way that doesn't take away the magic.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we stand Stampy. He's awesome.
And then also, one thing I will
That's
put in on
good.
Minecraft is one thing I don't like is sometimes you get. This goes with any piece of media really, but you just if you play it for too long, you just get burnt out.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's why
Get burnout on Minecraft too, especially if it's literally all you have to connect with friends.
Yeah. I mean, I also like having different games. Like, I mean, we've been talking about Lethal Company again. We've been talking about web fishing.
Yeah,
That's
Gmod.
Gmod. That's the reason.
Oh.
That's the reason why the mapping unit is
Unit,
built the way
yeah.
it is because we feel like we have multiple new Minecraft worlds, but it's all in the same world, and I feel like that, at least for me, it keeps it fresh. And we don't, and the thing about the mapping unit is we can leave it alone for a few months and come back and it'll be fine because, we like working on different things at different times. There's no pressing matter to get through. Or getting through the mapping unit is no pressing matter. It's just something we kind of come and go to. And sorry, Bailey, you were starting to say something?
Well, if you guys do a collaboration with Stardew Valley.
We could do that. Yeah, I've been meaning to get Stardew Valley for the PC, and I would definitely play
It's
it
up.
with you guys.
So
Yeah,
4
plus
players
on
on
top of
PC.
plus on top of that, there's also the mod community there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, I'd
And
totally
you
be
could do
down
the
to like
challenge
figure
mode.
out mods and also host servers for Stardew.
yeah. Oh, we also play
Yeah,
Terraria.
on top of all that,
I forgot about that. We played Terraria as well. I don't think we've ever streamed it, but we played some. I enjoyed it.
Terrario's me and John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what about that you know John and Julian?
Yeah. Terraria's mostly us.
Yeah.
Us three.
Yeah.
But I would definitely consider making videos on web fishing if we ever return to that, because that's
We should.
I feel like that
should.
was way too short lived. Same with Lethal Company. I'm so sad that Lethal
no.
Company is a fad because it's one of like the most fun games I've ever
It's got
played.
an update in the works.
Yeah, that too. So we gotta get back on it, guys.
So
Um,
I'm totally down to a host a Lethal Company.
yeah, for sure.
I think our current save is hosted by John.
Nice.
With
It
Pikmin.
is.
Yeah,
With
definitely.
Pikmin.
We definitely got to get in some before I leave for Spain, because I won't be able to when I leave. I the only thing I can do in Spain is the mapping unit. That's about it. And frankly, as much as I love it, it gets me bored too. So I completely understand. Like I burn myself out on Minecraft.
Yeah, you got me looking at my Steam library, seeing what games I have that we can play.
What about Connor? You have here You can go ahead. You have the next. You have the floor on this one.
The No One Knows About Legend of Heroes Trail series, or as it's probably more known as the Japanese name, Kiseki. It's what it does right is world building. I legit would go to a history class if it was Trails, Erebonian, Liberal, Crossbell, Calvert history. That's actually interesting, and it's all one interconnected story, all the way up to like Trails Beyond the Horizon is the 13th game. There's still characters returning from the very beginning. Kevin!
Kevin. Yeah, we can't forget Kevin,
Kevin's back.
guys.
And but it's also, some things aren't as good, like as the entire fandom would say Daybreak 2 is hot, sweaty garbage, but it's really not. It's just one act that has very repetitiveness to it.
Yeah.
And
Dang.
as I've kind of noticed, every first game of an arc is always like some of the slowest games.
Wow.
Like Trails Through Daybreak though is the best first game of an arc ever. It gets so heavy and fast paced and so much by chapter 2. Meanwhile, of course, Trails in the Sky first chapter, the first game, remake coming out in September, by the way. Play it.
Ooh.
It's definitely the slowest game in the series, considering it's the first game in the series.
Wow. That's cool.
But, yeah, and then it's not just Trails. There's also Ys, which also is by Nihon Falcom, which not as world builded as Trails, but it's all one world that Adol Kristen is going that adventures through. And it's I'm always wondering, where is his next journey going to be?
Yeah.
And that's not even all, because this is like the first game I talked about. There's other things I'm into. There's Reverse 1999. There's the Atelier series. There's so many things that I have no one to talk about them with.
Right. Yeah, I've
But,
been meaning to
yeah.
get to some of it too. I mean, I've seen a lot of it. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah,
It's
you've
really
seen a lot
cool.
of trails from what I posted, which
Yeah.
it probably makes if you don't know what is the world's greatest spoiler and what's what. You don't have any context.
Yeah, but I'm sure
Some
someday
might-
I'll find time to get into it. I would love to stream it on my channel because
Yeah.
I've seen gameplay. I played a little bit of it. Like you were over at my house and we got it going on my computer when I got it new, and it looked amazing. And so for sure, that's a consideration for future
Yeah, and
days.
even like most of my favorite characters of all time are from like Falcom games. I guess to
Yeah.
plug my top 5 characters of all time. I guess you guys can do that too if you want, just to know us. My top 5 characters of all time, readjusted because Reach is not actually number 1 anymore. Shockingly.
Somehow.
Oh, what is it? 'Cause I think I gotta look at it. I think Sophie's on there now.
I
top
have to list my
5
favorite
in my
characters.
channel.
I don't know.
That's my
Um,
Trails top 5. My top 5 characters of all time would be Reen Schwarzer at number 1. Second would be Agnes Clodell. Third would be Von Arkwright. I'd say fourth would probably be Vertin from Reverse 1999, and fifth would be Sophie Neuenmuller. So yeah, in my top 5 of all time, there's not even Risha anymore. She's probably like 6th.
Dang. she's been
So-
dethroned
Yes.
like 5 times.
Because they don't give her any story anymore. Meanwhile,
Dang.
they give Reen story every appearance.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
that's probably about it for my part. Unless anyone else want to plug their favorite characters of all time.
I don't really have any, but I guess like there are pillars in my childhood that kind of inspired the MT color scheme, and those characters are definitely Thomas the Tank Engine, Spider-Man, and oh shoot, wait, who was the third? Blue and Red. Thomas the Tank Engine, Spider-Man. There's someone else. I mean, SpongeBob. He was a pillar of my childhood, but you know the colors aren't. I
He's
thought there
yellow.
was a third. Yeah, SpongeBob's yellow.
Is it Optimus?
It's
Oh,
Mr.
Optimus-
Eugene Krabs.
It was Optimus Prime. So there are like many characters that have just helped me become who I am in life. They're not like my most favorite characters, but they're important to me. Yeah, the 3 that gave me my color scheme: Thomas the Tank Engine, Optimus Prime, and Spider-Man. My brain is fried.
Right.
And then
don't wanna pick
SpongeBob,
too
but-
hard on your pronunciation, but it sounds like you said Autist Prime.
Autist Prime. It's probably my
Optimus
audio's
Prime.
probably being weird. Autist Prime. I like trains. Hello, Thomas the Tank Engine.
Choo choo, motherfucker.
Hello,
Autobots.
Thomas.
Roll out.
Roll out. Wait. Autism bots, stim and roll out.
No, stim out. Let's
Stim
go.
out.
Then you just suddenly hear a bunch of popping noises. Where they just go,
Oh my gosh.
or they just pop their lips or whatever.
Yeah. Thomas the Tank Engine.
Exactly.
What kind of train are you? I'm a tank engine, Thomas said.
I'm autistic.
Oh my god.
Uh,
We're way too neurodivergent for our own good.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
god.
then also, I think I can list off some of my favorite characters.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. See, Arthur Morgan, Luke Skywalker, Bumblebee, Indiana Jones,
Heck yeah.
probably Mario,
Mario. Indiana Jones is a good
and
one.
Thomas.
You can't just leave out the little blue engine, man. He's
yeah, no,
great.
I come on. We both grew up on Thomas. We know
we
that little blue
did.
engine.
Yeah,
He's a very
Yeah,
useful
that's good.
engine.
he is.
I
He's
have
amazing.
in my room the one I carried everywhere. He has like no paint
Yeah.
on him anymore.
And I made a whole like MT Creations Creates episode recently that was Thomas the Tank Engine themed. I can't believe the 80th anniversary was I don't know, just like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's move things along a bit here. Of course. Oh, I should mention that these streams we might revisit topics at some point. We can, if we just want to have a podcast where we talk about things we like, we can.
We can call those the fillers.
Yeah, the fillers. But
Also, does Bailey not get a top 5 characters plug?
oh,
I
did you want
suppose not. Let's move on.
one? Now, if you want one, I didn't know you didn't raise your hand on it, so I don't know. Do you want to list your top 5?
What raise hand feature do we have? Is this Blackboard collaborate?
I was being figurative.
Are we on a fucking Zoom call or are we on Discord, good sir? Just move on. It's cool.
Okay, all right. We'll revisit this someday. So
Redemption.
we have Red Dead Redemption listed.
Yes, we do. That is definitely a Connor and I topic.
Yeah, it is. I can't talk on 1 as much because I'm not beating it.
Yeah.
I'm
I
almost
haven't
done.
even played one yet.
I'm through Mexico at least, so I'm in like the last
Dude,
quarter of the game. Like the last
you
third of
boys,
the
I
game,
have
but
a
yeah.
friend that would literally flay you for saying that. They are devastatingly invested in Red Dead Redemption 2. And 1.
See, I need to play 1. I just haven't gotten it yet. I am obsessed with 2 though.
Yeah, same.
I've heard 2 is really good. I love all the
We
Arthur
both
Morgan.
played 2. We both played 2
Both.
several times.
Yeah.
I'm on my
At some
third
point, I need
playthrough.
to. Yeah, I think I'm still in the middle of my 3rd playthrough, 3rd or 4th. I can't remember.
Nice. I love the Arthur Morgan memes. Like I haven't played it yet, but I do love them. My dad got it on Steam, so I can play it at
Lenny!
some point. Want some jelly beans?
Lenny!
I got some jelly beans.
I truthfully have zero clue what even critiques you could give Red Dead Redemption 2
That's okay.
or 1. The games are that perfect.
They're that perfect. We can move
The
on.
narrative-
critique
the narrative is
critique you could
pure
give for
cinema.
Red Dead 2 is the model for John in the epilogue.
True, they
that-
just reused Arthur's.
Yeah, the model they used for John in the epilogue was lazy, to be honest. It's literally
Hey.
just John's face on Arthur's body, even though they very clearly have 2 different body types.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like the difference between Arthur and John is like the difference between me and Connor. So it's like imagine slapping like Connor's face on my body and how wrong that would look.
yeah.
That would
That's
look
what
very
the like
wrong.
epilogue John model is like.
Wow. Dang. That's crazy.
Well, without too many spoilers, the narrative is just absolute cinema.
Yeah,
That's good.
it
So
really
then-
makes you feel like an old Western cowboy.
That's good. I really want to play it. I gotta try it.
You should.
You
I-
should.
I
You very
There's
much
also
should.
Red Dead Online, but Red Dead Online isn't crossplay.
Oh
Yeah,
well.
and it's kind of been abandoned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. They're working on the new one. Oh,
GTA
freaking-
6.
Yeah.
Yep.
So last on the list here, we got Pokemon.
Markiplier would pork my favorite Pokemon.
Who? Why do?
And just like that, I don't think I want to talk about Pokemon anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Here's what I dislike about Pokemon. Why do people want to pork them? Like, they're animals, Joker. No,
They're
Joker.
animals! They're literally
They're animals, Joker. You
I
can't.
I can't talk about my favorite Pokemon because of the Gooners. Because whenever I mention my favorite Pokemon, people always assume I'm a massive Gooner for it. No, I just like
No,
it. It was my
I
first
agree.
Pokemon card.
Oh my
Okay,
god.
which Pokemon is this? Now I'm very curious because I genuinely love to talk about
Vaporeon.
Pokemon.
Oh, of course.
Okay, that is honestly very valid.
No,
I always
no,
describe
Joker.
Vaporeon as like a little autism creature, and I literally use Vaporeon to just be like, okay, see this? This is sibling shaped.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, it is
It's
friend shape. It was a little water kitty.
It's a water
pork
kitty.
water kitty.
No, Joker. You can't. It's an animal.
Arguably, I used to really love Sylveon. Sylveon was my absolute favorite evolution for the longest time, aside from just Eevee at its base. But then over time, I just slowly grew more and more attached to Vaporeon because out of all of them, especially from like the graphics and stuff and Pokemon on Scarlet and Violet, they just made Vaporeon look absolutely adorable and just so different from all the others. Whereas the
Yeah,
others,
like,
you can clearly
I
see
have
that
a
they all have
Vaporeon
fur and
plush.
stuff. Whereas like in the others in the games, where you can clearly see all the Pokemon, like they have textured hair and all that kind of stuff and fur.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that Vaporeon has skin almost like a shark or a dolphin
Wow, that's cool actually. That's a
because it
cool
has the
detail.
shine marks.
Right.
I know.
They're more like a Siamese cat.
Yeah.
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 Or- Is it Siamese or is whatever the
think-
hairless cat is called?
Yeah,
Oh
that's-
shoot! Sorry, my
that's a
mic just.
Yeah,
Sphinx.
flipped over.
Sphinx.
A Sphinx cat.
Siamese?
You're the one who agreed with
Siamese
Siamese.
Shut
You
up.
agreed.
I agreed with the cat aspect. You can keep your mouth shut, mister. I'm the local Pokemon expert. I've been playing since about, Gen 2.
Yeah.
I used to
the
pirate
only,
Gen 1 in school.
The only thing I know
Good
about
for you!
Pokemon.
I didn't have access to Gen 1 because I didn't have anything for Gen 1.
The only thing I know about Pokemon is that the Dene is kind of based. I haven't really played much other than my sister's copies of the games. I have watched more of the anime than of the games, but I do have some cards too here and there.
I have a ton of cards. I have so many games based around Pokemon, but I've oddly enough never really been too into the anime.
Yeah. Oh,
Bill
and
goes more into the anime than the games.
actually, and one of the movies I just absolutely love. So happens to be the Detective Pikachu movie. I genuinely really like that movie. It was so fun. I've watched some playthroughs of Detective Pikachu as well. So that's like kind of where I stand on the. Oh, hi, Dea.
Hi.
We're doing a podcast.
Dope.
Yeah.
Creature.
John called you a creature.
I just farted for him, so.
Good job.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? You just gonna stand there eat mochi?
Good.
It's good. Okay.
Good.
It's good.
By the way, my favorite Pokemon's Lilligant.
Nice.
Honestly, valid because that Pokemon is genuinely so pretty and arguably probably one of my favorite grass types.
She's adorable, even if she's pure grass type and probably like garbage, because pure grass types have like 5 weaknesses.
Yeah, but there's also like the grass fighting, which adds like 7. And I'm pretty sure Lilligant ain't too bad. I mean, yeah, the stats aren't too bad. It's like 480 total.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on top of all that, Hisui and Lilligant's also really cool too. Arguably,
Yeah, I
I
don't think
think
I've
that
ever
one would
seen
probably be
both.
my favorite one. Wait, you've never seen the Hisuian one?
Well, Lilligant merch of I've seen Hisui and Lilligant.
Okay, but yeah, it's kind of hard to find merch like that, at least here in America.
Yeah.
I think over in Japan, it's a little bit more prevalent.
You know, another thing I really dislike about Pokemon is when your favorite Pokemon is so goddamn obscure. Like, how did my favorite become Dedenne? Like, where the hell do you find Dedenne plushes?
Pika-clones. Pika-clones.
He is like a special type of Pikachu. It's like, it's cool.
No, that's like genuinely like a fan subclass of Pokemon. They're called Pika-clones. Like Meryl is actually an honorary Pika-clone because Meryl used to be known as Blue Chew
Oh, okay.
or
Huh.
Pika Blue. They're really popular, and usually each generation gets one, such as Morpeko being for the Galar iteration,
Mm-hmm.
and Imoga being Gen 5s.
Huh. Wow, that's interesting.
Trust me, I'm a little obsessed with Pokemon. It's been my special interest for years now.
Well, nothing wrong with that. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, maybe someday I'll get a little more into Pokemon than I am, but I do love the
Dude,
concept. I appreciate the
please.
whole. What?
Dude, please do because both in my personal opinion, I think Gen 5 and Gen 9 are some of the best iterations. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you have to get like $30 of DLC or so for,
Mhm.
for Gen 9. And Gen 5, a lot of the features have been cut off because they cut off wireless communication in 2014. But their stories are absolutely brilliant. The way they did the characters and everything. Like, all the way down to the music. Like, if you've heard any of the themes from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, then you'll pretty much instantly possibly pick up on one of the composers for it, which is Toby Fox. You know, the guy who
Oh.
made Undertale.
That's really cool.
Yeah, he worked with Pokemon, and then one of the smaller details in Gen 5 is when you're talking to the character N, who speaks faster than all the other NPCs.
Huh. That's neat.
There's so many tiny details that are absolutely amazing,
Nice.
and I can't recommend these games enough. Though I do have to say Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are kinda boring. I do think Pokemon Platinum them did that stuff better.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I liked how they handled Cynthia to start with, and just how they handled the gyms. Because back in the 2D bit, you had to be a little bit more creative with your gym setup.
Yeah.
But the little transition to a Chibi 3D, it just didn't hold up, and I'm genuinely upset that they got rid of the clock that was in Eternia's gym.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like, come on, man, I loved that. Why'd you take that away?
Right. Wow.
And while I appreciate that you're able to get different outfits and all that kind of stuff, overall, it's just kind of bland.
Yeah.
Though they'll ended up keeping the PTSD-inducing Cynthia fight. They didn't get rid of that.
That's good, I
Important.
suppose.
And any Pokemon fan that's faced Cynthia knows her theme and instantly has war flashbacks.
Wow. Yeah, my sister recently had a lot of fun with the Pokemon game that had like that came out with a lot of bugs because it was rushed.
That was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, I watched my sister like experience a lot of the bugs in that game. It was so funny. Like
It was very rushed.
the best part
and-
is you don't expect that from like a game like Pokemon. You don't expect that
No,
like
you
kind of terrible day one quality from a Nintendo game. But it was so funny, you know. If I was playing, I could not be mad. Yeah, it's like Security Breach, right? Like I was madly in love with the idea of getting to play Security Breach, and then when I found out that the game was buggy and glitchy, it made me anticipate it even more. It made me anticipate playing it a lot more. It made me just absolutely freaking obsessed. And you know, one of my favorite video game glitches to this day still remains the freaking Monty Crotch jump scare. That's one of my favorite video game moments. The Monty Crotch jump scare. So long story short, I was escaping from Monty, and I just get up on this ledge where so he was chasing me, and I get up on this ledge. He runs away, and then I get him to he starts following me again, and I get up on the ledge again, but this time he like gets up, he like pushes his crotch into my face like 2 times, and then jump scares me, and then on top of it, the jump scare animation didn't even play. It was just freeze framed. It was the funniest freaking thing I've ever experienced in a video game.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Depending on who you're talking to, that could either be a nightmare or it could be paradise.
I'm sure that's paradise to some people out there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like we should move on now. We should move on to our.
Yeah.
I feel like we got a
The
little
topic
sidetracked.
of the day, we are about
Yeah.
like what, 20 minutes in?
Yeah, we're like 40 minutes in.
Oh, nice, 40.
So our main topic is indie animation versus corporate animation. Which is better? Now we're not going to come up with like a conclusion. I want this section to I just wanted us to talk about the pros and cons
It's a healthy
of
debate.
each. Yeah, it's a healthy debate. Like personally, I would prefer indie animation. I love some corporate animations, like or TV shows or whatever. But like I'm in this place where like I'm kind of leaning more towards indie animation, but I have my issues with indie animation too, which I will get to later on.
A
So
lot
we
of the
have
problems with
here
the animation
what? Yeah, you
Sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna say a lot of the problems I see with indie animation often fall down to writing and having to cater to more of a populist thing where
Right.
you're trying to cater just to your audience and what they like to see,
Yeah.
rather than doing a generalized thing such as what corporate animation does. Instead being like inoffensive as possible, a lot of people tend to lean a bit too far into it because that's what quote unquote sets them apart or feeds on the nostalgia of like some of the older corporate animations, shows like Invader Zim and all that kind of stuff, and Billy
Right.
and Mandy and the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Yeah.
As well as the stuff where if you look at it from this point of view to this day, you go, how did you get away with that?
Yeah.
Or you just end up kind of shaking your head and being like, who approved this? With the mindset of, oh, kids have access to this like parents would today.
Yeah.
Plus, there's also the fact that a lot of indie stuff that I've seen is usually made to order episodes, where basically you get one episode and then you have to wait a while for the next one to come out instead of waiting a week, which you would get for about corporate animation, where they have a much bigger staff team in order to help with writing, storyboarding, coloring, painting, etc.
Right.
The
Yeah.
production of it.
Yeah,
The higher production value, so to speak.
yeah, that is the problem with like
Whereas
indie
you could-
animation. One of the problems with it.
Whereas you could get it enough, you could get the same kind of quality, but it just takes a lot longer. And unfortunately, in this kind of world today, a lot of that can cost you quite a bit, especially with the death of media literacy, but I believe that's a topic for another day.
Mm-hmm.
Where people often just go like, hey, you make all this money from your stuff, when in reality you're literally relying on pennies, essentially, in order to make stuff.
Yeah.
And then people are just like, why can't you just make more? Feed us more stuff.
Right.
Why don't you just get all of these things? Why don't you just hire more people to make it? Or dare I say, on some of the more personally despicable people, in my opinion, why don't you just use AI?
Yeah.
Because there are people that will say that and have actually done it to people to basically get the preferred outcome they want.
Right. Which is just bad.
Horrifying, in my opinion, considering
Yeah.
everything that's scraped from
Oh.
is not just public domain, it's outright works that people have made for free.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. AI is terrible. Yeah, and we that will be a topic we
And that's
will
another
discuss.
topic.
That's actually the next one. No, that's podcast 3. Sorry, why AI is unethical. And yeah, we'll definitely get into that whole
Podcast
topic.
3, I believe John started with it was like John's idea for the topic.
Yeah.
I thought that was gay. I thought that was Derek's.
I'm
Did-
pretty
was
sure it
it?
was John's, because I remember the joke of he used a funky font and Al couldn't read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Derek's thing is on color is black, but it's a different font. I think, right? Yeah. Oh wait, no, he did write podcast 3 or start podcast 3.
That's what I thought, because I remember during the discussions of the topics where I was getting into a debate with him over it.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
I think I
firmly
came up. I think I came
AI.
up with the topic, but he started writing for it.
Oh yeah.
That's what I remember.
More than
Yeah.
likely.
I know I added some points too, but of course, we can mix and match.
Especially for the voice acting part, since that's like my big thing.
Right. Yeah. We can start the
Yeah.
topic off with that. When we get there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All my
Yeah.
stuff falls with
What?
Like, a lot of my arguments fall against generative, because I don't have any problems with, analytical.
Right. Yeah. Analytical is fine. Yeah. There's different sides.
Analytical is fine in my eyes, because it can be used to, help detect forms of cancer and, help the medical industry, instead of,
Right.
being used by big box corporations to try and make a quick buck.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
indie animation versus corporate animation. So yeah, the strengths in indie animation, we've I feel like it's more creative freedom, drawbacks. It takes more time between each like production. It takes, you know, it's corporate animation does, like, I do recognize it has a lot of like benefits, you know, more episodes, larger team, more budget, like more quality even, like.
Yeah, but also at the same time, I feel like corporate animation gets away with being lazier a lot more than indie animation does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because with indie animation, you're far more exposed to scrutiny. Whereas with corporate animation, you can basically plug your ears and keep moving on because people don't know who's behind it. Meanwhile, with indie, the creators are basically a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, a good example of that is the original Transformers. Like, there's so many animations and errors in that show that just people just like brush off
For sure.
because, you know,
I can
it's got
point out
the
another show that
big
did one.
Hasbro bucks.
Another show that technically got away with a bunch of animation errors would probably be Invader Zim, but the biggest one that I can find would be during a episode that was focused around a debate slash student president run, where at one point Zim straight up just did not have his human disguise eyes.
Oh wow.
Like,
Yeah,
he just had
animation
his
errors are
buggy
funny.
ass alien eyes hanging out.
I know there's like, I think one of like the biggest, I think I've heard it be called this at one point, one of the biggest animation errors in history is, I think, from G.I. Joe, and it's like these dinosaurs crashing into a building, but they didn't line the cell sheets up right, so it's like the layering is just all askewed and horrible. You could tell, you could be any age, anyone, and you could tell they've messed up. It's crazy. Like, you got like this like the wall, this hole breaks into a wall, but then the wall disappears and these dinosaurs phase from the wall. It's crazy. I wonder if I'll probably find it after this podcast. But it's hilarious to watch. And it happens, still happens today. Animation errors are funny.
Yeah. Or like the original Transformers, like the amount of times the Seekers are drawn off model or the wrong colors.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like Thundercracker just suddenly becoming Starscream, or like having
Yeah.
3 Starscreams on screen.
There was Soundwave with the Autobot logo once.
Optimus Prime without his mask.
Yeah. That's a good one. I love it. It's crazy. They always, like, there's parts of them that change color during transformation. I've been wanting to like translate that into 3D. I've had this idea in mind where I would like remake the entire 1980s Transformers movie shot for shot, frame by frame, using the original audio, but it's all like done in Blender. And I was thinking for the transformations, like parts that would change color or scale down, like I would try and translate that, because I know how to do it. I can do that in Blender, but I would love to just kind of see it happen with a Transformer character rig. I've done a practice animation with Soundwave. I made my own Soundwave model, and I've used shape keys to like scale him down while he transforms, and like have him just kind of morph and turn into like this tiny little box from this giant robot.
Also, I don't know if you probably can't show them on stream, but I put some examples of animation errors in the gnome mic.
Let's see. Oh my! Oh my god!
Oh god.
That first one definitely has, like, I think Ratchet was supposed to be behind him for sure. Oh my god! I remember the other one. That was another layering issue.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know a good one. I gotta find it.
You know what? I'm gonna see if I can find the one I'm talking about real quick.
Al,
Yeah.
given that you brought up the stuff with Blender, that also poses another topic.
Yeah.
What's done right / better, 2D or 3D animation from studios versus indie studios?
That's a good one. That's really good. I've seen indie animation like go from thriving on 2D to more 3D. Like if you look at Glitch, right? They have Mr. Temer on
The
their
Amazing Digital
side.
Circus.
Yeah, Amazing Digital Circus. Like they
Murder Drones looks
figured it out.
absolutely stunning.
Yeah, Murder Drones is amazing.
All right, there's my animation there.
Especially since with the that mix of sort of 2D and 3D, given that they have the characters showing the expressions through like little masks and stuff, since they're all robots.
Yeah.
And with the strange abstract nature of just anything made by Gooseworks. That's very interesting. We've seen Gooseworks mostly work with 2D and 3D animation mixes.
Yeah.
But another corporate animation that I think did it well would probably be The Amazing World of Gumball, because they mixed in so many different art styles, from CGI to claymation.
That's a good way to bring in like the corporate side of it, right? We see indie animation do 2D and 3D. We also have seen corporate animation do 2D and 3D. And like it's
Chowder is also another one that's done that too.
Oh, yeah.
With
Yeah.
transitions
Chowder.
and the misadventures of Flapjack.
Yes. Yeah, they do it. They do it pretty well. I think they both
and that
have.
also brings up like the edgier humor there too, given what Flapjack that kind of portrayed.
Right. I think my philosophy on 3D when you're trying to make like a cartoon or so is just like just having it have that 2D, like animate it like it's 2D, even if it's 3D. Like I like that. I think that just makes it work, you know. If you're making like
Another show that also did that you brought up earlier, which was Adventure Time.
Mhm.
Specifically, when they did, I believe it was the Glitch or something that was called.
Yeah. A glitch is a glitch or something.
They did that. Yeah, or that one episode of Adventure Time where they did everything in claymation.
Oh, that was cool.
Where it was Storm.
That's one of my favorite things about Adventure Time is how they would have like guest animators on and just do their
Yes,
whole
it's
episode in
interesting how
different
they would
style.
play around with the style.
Yeah.
Because at one point I remember during, I believe it was the water park episode, they had a guest animator on there that felt like everything was made of paper.
Yeah. I like that one too.
Yeah.
I could also segue into another aspect that we plan to cover, which is how fanfic reacts to everything. Because they basically covered that with Ice King.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I know. Yeah, it's at the end of our list here, but we can talk about it now. How does fan fiction affect people? What does it do for people? How does it help people? What?
We aren't confined to any order. We
Yeah,
made this podcast.
Yeah, we're not confined to the
We
order.
made this podcast, but we basically just have like a generalized outline where we basically go, okay,
Yeah.
go run free on the paper.
Just however the conversation flows, right? So yeah, let's talk about fan fiction. Like how, like indie animation definitely I feel like has some sort of, I don't know, it shakes hands with fan fiction in a way, right? Like
They
fan fiction is the act of just
but
making
there
your
are
own.
drawbacks.
Yeah.
There are drawbacks, and this has been seen with Has-Been Hotel, actually, because I remember speaking to Dave Capdeville at one point.
Mm-hmm.
When, one of the writers for the pilot.
I see.
And it was during an interaction with a fan work that he ended up bringing it up to VivziePop and saying he was pissed off that they couldn't do anything like that now that someone else thought of it, because, well, it could cause a lot of problems in court where people are just like, you stole my concept, I wrote it out, I did it first, why did you steal it?
Yeah.
Or it could cause copyright problems with how everything works. Like, yeah, there are fan theories that can be confirmed and all that kind of stuff throughout canon, but that can still be a very messy matter where they can't confirm or deny.
Right. I feel like if you're like writing an indie show and someone makes like a fan work that you like, as a creator you just really like, and you're like, gosh, I wish I thought of that, I want to do that. I feel like the best course of action would be to see if you can get in contact with them and see if they want to collaborate with you on the show, right? Like, of course.
I mean, that's what Sonic Team has done with their games.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also problems with that where some people will then start trying to compete. Because you gotta remember, the kind of indie fan bases we're talking about currently are known to have rather toxic takes.
Yeah,
where you also have to bring in the media literacy, which just seems to have an epidemic of just being plain missing.
right.
Where straight up, if a character has a flaw, such as let's take Jax from The Amazing Digital Circus, he's considered a morally gray character, but most people are just like, oh, this character's just an absolute cinnamon roll baby. He doesn't do anything wrong. He's just a sad little guy and just anxious. He doesn't know how to show his feelings. Or he's the devil incarnate and there is nothing you can do to change my mind. There isn't really much of a middle ground there. It's difficult
Bro's
to
just
have
bored.
flaws for a character.
Yeah. But
He is straight up just bored and looking for amusement.
but going on the whole thing about like a toxic fandom, like, you know, if people get mad because their show creator picked up this one like special idea out of the crowd, I mean, it's like, I feel like it's just leave it up to the creators. Like, if the creators just like an idea and they want to collaborate with a fan to make that idea be a thing, you know, it's probably because the fan just knows the material enough to, you know, be able to work with the show. Like, I feel like I would, you know, like, I'm sorry to everyone else who doesn't get to, you know, work with us, but, you know, if they have an idea that's just really in tune with the show and a collaboration can happen, make it happen, right? Even if you leave others out of it, right? I mean,
Al,
they could still have fun.
You're-
What?
Al,
What?
there's a power dynamic there too that could be a very bad idea.
Yeah.
Because someone might end up doing that and then straight up start screaming, oh, they took advantage of me, yada yada yada. And a lot of people would be inclined to believe the person who's blowing the whistle there because, well, who are you to deny a victim their story?
That's true.
And on
Yeah.
top of all that, with said power dynamics, if the person in charge just so happens to be an awful person, then that could lead to some serious issues. It's like getting a bit too friendly with like your boss and all that kind of stuff.
Right. I do see where you're
And I'm
coming from.
speaking as
Yeah.
someone who, I'm speaking as someone who's been through something like that.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Like, I get, yeah. The power dynamic is that could be a problem. I
And
suppose.
again, copyright.
Right.
could be a copyright
it could be a copyright hell. You're right. I guess, you know, it's
I mean,
like,
Toby
personally,
Fox
I
was
wouldn't,
with it.
like, you know, if let's take Chippicut, for example, right? Maybe I'm in the middle of that and like people somehow start making fan art and stuff. And then, like, there's an idea that I really like personally for me. I'm just speaking from like the perspective of someone else. Like, personally, if I found an idea that's really in tune with the show and I wish I thought of it first, I would leave it alone, so I wouldn't really, so I'm just doing my own thing. I want to let others do their own
You
thing.
could make an acknowledgement that you saw it and appreciated.
Yeah, like that's good. Like, that's
Acknowledgement of your
good.
acknowledgement of your fan base and the works they do produce
Yeah,
tend to be a lot more popular with people because then it's just like, oh, they do pay attention, they do see everything.
yeah. Kind
And
of
that's
like
a good
how
way to look at it.
kind of like how in Supernatural they acknowledge a ship that people do in the show between two characters. Like, I would definitely do that, but I suppose, like, I do at the same time believe, like, there could definitely be a way that someone out there, it just depends on the people, could make something like that work, like collaboration between a fan idea and you know, the show creators. And I'm sure, like, I know I'm being optimist about it, but I'm sure there's ought to be some way to kind of skirt around the whole power dynamic and just make it work, you know, even if it's not 100%. I would love to see something like that happen, where like one or two lucky fans even like get their in into a show and or something. Of course,
The best way I've
Indie.
seen that kind of thing handled, I believe, was with Adventure Time.
with Adventure Time.
The guest animators.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's where I'm getting at, right? Guess that I'm sure they also had to have helped write it, so as well, write the episode or something.
Not always. Some people might just come up with like a small concept and then bring it to
True.
the guest animator.
That's
'Cause
true.
That's usually how the animation goes. The writers
Right.
come up with something, then they bring it to the animators to have them make
Yeah,
it.
you know,
They don't always get a choice in what they get to draw. So
it's kind of like
that-
the way Pixar is structured is like kind of what I'm thinking of too. Like, Pixar is like, it's not like they just have people who come in and out, work for them, and you do a movie, right? Like, Pixar is
A
like
short
a set. Pixar is like a set of tools, and people bring in ideas and pitch movies and stuff, and it's kind of like
The way I'm
it's kind of like Pixar lets other people onto their playground if they like their ideas enough. I suppose it's
I'm
like
looking
that's
at it more from the perspective of someone developing an indie show. Because technically I am.
oh no, yeah, I know, yeah, I'm just relating it to Pixar. I'm just saying like it's kind of like fans offering ideas that the indie show could work with. It just kind of I'm just comparing it, which makes sense for a topic anyway. How about you, John and Connor? Do you have any thoughts on this? You guys have been silent over there. I feel
Connor's
bad.
deafened.
Oh, he is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Has been for the past 10 minutes, I think.
Oh, geez, where'd he go off to? I didn't even say.
Don't know.
Oh. So, well, I guess anyway, John, do you have any thoughts on all this? I don't want to leave you out of it.
I'm not sure, honestly. Like, what is it? The fan fiction stuff?
Yeah, we're just talking about
Yeah.
like, fan.
General fan, really.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are, Connor.
What is
Yeah.
it?
I stepped away without mentioning to use the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
I
So-
missed something.
No, it's
We
okay.
were trying to call on you.
Yeah, I just
Oh.
I just noticed you two were silent. I didn't know if you had any thoughts at all. I just wanted to kind of make sure the floor was still open to everyone.
No, I don't really have anything to comment on right now.
Okay, that's okay. So yeah, I don't know. We're just skirting, throwing out the idea of like how fans and shows could interact, but I guess it just is what it is, right? Like, so it just won't work. But I guess I'm just really saying, in general, just I would like to see a scenario where it really does. But yeah, fan fiction. What does it do for people? It definitely lets you just kind
I
of
feel like
have an outlet.
Fanfiction is like a double-edged sword.
It really is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
I
good
think of this as a
fanfiction
fanfic writer.
that's like fanfic. There's fanfics that can be even better than the source material, but then at the
Oh,
same time, there are some fanfics where it's like, I mean, you have
My
the right to
Immortal.
write it, but maybe did you have to?
Yeah.
It cost you nothing to make this, and yet you still did, and you chose to share it with other people. Bravo
Yeah.
for your bravery. What is wrong with your hubris?
Exactly. See, that's
Yeah.
why if you were an indie creator who chose to take like fan made ideas, that's why you just gotta be selective, right? Some people just make awful fan fictions. Which I know that is like a very like I mean awful as in
Yeah, for-
just like they're just going off the rails, right? I mean, write what you want, obviously. Have fun. If you're having fun with it, that's awesome. Keep doing it. Like freaking the guy who wrote a Loud House fan fiction, it's like the world's longest.
Oh god, the Loud House revamped.
Yeah.
I
it's like-
know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, it's like
the
the
one
longest
infamous one that
freaking
just followed.
piece of written literature in the English
The
language.
I've read. I'm gonna preface this right now. I have never been into Harry Potter. I'm not into the fandom. I know basic concepts. I sat down with a bunch of friends and read through My Immortal with them. My Immortal is one of the most infamous fan fictions of all time.
Oh no.
To the point where you could buy a copy of it on Amazon. No one even knows who
Jesus.
the author
Wow.
is.
That's nuts.
And I can tell you, it falls into the whole thing of you reserve the right to write it,
Yeah.
and you reserve the right to post it. I applaud your bravery,
Right.
but what is wrong with your hubris?
I know. John, do you have any
Because-
other thoughts? You started this conversation.
Kind of like talk about like a positive aspect of fanfics that like it work on like improve other like media.
Mhm.
I've seen some pretty good like homemade Thomas videos of all things.
Yeah, I have too.
Like people who like basically do their own model series of Thomas, like give
They're-
a spotlight to characters that didn't get stuff, like Boko of all characters. I've seen
Yeah.
people dedicate whole series to Boko.
Oh, they're great. I've seen some of them.
I'm sure
That's
half the
also
people
a
here don't
thing.
even know who Boko is.
I know.
Yeah,
I think
I don't
My
remember.
opinion is one of the ways you keep a fandom alive. Like, I'm gonna look at fandoms that just have weird as hell fanfics. Like, it also depends on like what kind of part of the fandom you hang out in. Like, personally, in terms of fanfics, I hang out in the romantic X-reader area, which is what I produce and make myself.
Right. Oh wait, real quick, just quick interjection, John. You know who really was done dirty?
Who?
Lady.
Yeah.
Lady was really done dirty.
She deserved to actually be in the show.
She did.
Also, in No Mike, there's Boko.
Let's see.
Adorable. Silly.
Oh yeah, yes. Aw. You're
Yeah,
right.
like he got like barely any attention in the official show. So there are people who have made like their own episodes of Boko.
That's awesome. Oh. Well, anyway, yeah.
Sorry.
No, what were you going? Yeah, back to what you were saying. Sorry, I just need to interject that for a second.
I kind of forgot what I was saying. Could someone remind me?
Fan work.
Oh yeah. I'm in am I just in a VC full of goldfish? Yay.
Yeah.
Blub blub.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're all goldfish here. Yeah. You were talking about like some type of fan work you like to do, like a genre or something, like romance.
Ah yes, the X-reader genre. Basically, have you ever heard of a reader insert?
Yes, I've done one of those for fun, just for the joke of it. A long time ago.
I write it seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I've tried to write crack. I've tried to draw crack. I can't do either. I either have to put my whole ass and back into it, or it is not getting made.
We have a friend Sarah who ships one of her OCs. She shipped her OC Vivian with Ford Pines from Gravity Falls, and then shipped Vivian. She now ships Vivian with Cecil from Invincible. I made a crack fic, just to tease Sarah. That was Ford finding out about Vivian being with Cecil now.
And I read through and genuinely criticized it.
Yeah. I
formatting
wrote
and
it
all.
Yeah, it was so funny. Someday I ought to, if we do like a whole podcast on fan fictions, I will definitely read it. It's not that long. It's so
God.
funny.
Oh god, that's making me wonder. Should I read one of mine that I've written? Because I have so many.
Yeah, yes. We just need a whole podcast where we could just read our fan fictions, because that'd be so funny. We should definitely do that sometime.
I'm gonna put this down in podcast 17 then.
Okay.
I'll just write down filler fanfic readouts.
Perfect. How does fan fiction help people was one of her questions. Yeah, I just glanced at that and thought of there are instances, I can't recall right now, but there are instances where like fan fiction has developed into its own original material.
Absolutely, and I can actually name several.
There's one I just thought
Well,
of.
I can name one.
Real quick. There was this. It was in a game. It was a game actually. Someone made a fan game for My Little Pony called Fighting Is Magic, and Hasbro got mad. So what they did was, turn it like make their own. Lauren Faust herself, the creator of Friendship is Magic, helped them make new original pony designs for the game, so they could like take the My Little Pony branding off of it, and they made this new game called Them's Fighting Herds. And I think that's a great example of how it helps people develop their own ideas based off of a material they really love, yet, make it something original so they can keep loving the material they love, in a way.
The material that popped in my mind was actually a book.
A book? Okay.
That then later was developed into a film. A
Ooh.
series of films and books. It's 50 Shades of Grey.
The 50. Oh my gosh, that's right.
It was a Twilight fan fiction originally.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great example. That's like the example for that.
Hmm.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey is a Twilight fan fiction. just I that is so
half
funny.
Half of the games made on the Source engine are just like really, fan fiction slash fan games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Skibbity Toilet? Isn't that just a fan fiction of freaking Source assets?
Pretty much.
It could be considered that.
Yeah, it's
Frankly, I kind of class that as its own beast.
yeah, it is its
It
own
just
beast.
a
uses the
mistake.
materials laying around. Like, John, remember when you described yourself as being able to work with like scraps and stuff while Al makes
Yeah.
the stuff from the ground up?
Yeah.
It's basically, and remember how Julian basically said the orc engineering versus elven engineering?
Yep.
I kind of look at Skibbity Toilet as just being the orc engineering of Gmod source stuff.
It really is, yeah. They're just using what they got to make that. So
Which
they
is
don't-
honestly quite admirable. I mean,
Yeah.
I did that with a
Oh, for
lot of
sure.
stuff when I was a kid.
I kind of did that with my story 6 times. I used this VR game called Tiny Town VR, and I used only the assets that they gave me, that they give you in that game, to make it like a whole story. Oh, they have like all these little people that you can use. I mean, turn a bunch of them into characters. I know what
reminded me
that's
of one
like.
time I used Gmod to make a story to help myself get over a traumatic event in my life.
Yeah.
I've straight up used fan fiction and like the X-Reader stuff I write. I straight up have used it to comfort myself during like really depressive moments.
Right.
Like just to have someone say
that's-
something that I need to hear.
That's a good way to use fan fiction to help people. That's helps not only others but yourself.
You can also have a catharsis moment too, where you just torment the ever-loving hell out of characters.
Yeah.
That's what I did with Gmod.
Hello.
Yay. Different, but tormenting your characters. Oh boy, I've done it to my OCs a lot. Mainly
Oh,
in
trust me, I have plenty. Literally, one of them was stabbed in the eye as a baby.
Wow.
Oh god. At least Anami was 20 when she lost her eye.
Wow. I've
Evelyn was an infant.
Oh.
like I actually like when it comes to my fan fictions, I was writing Transformers Unlimited, which was like my own version of the entirety of Transformers, just written from scratch, starting with Orion Pax. Like I wrote my own version of Transformers 1 before the movie even came out, or it was even announced.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you made your own AUs.
Yeah. And I did it because I wasn't a fan of what they were doing with modern Transformers. With like I mean there was that one show where Megatron was learning to be an Autobot or whatever. And they just they just weren't doing Transformers right anymore. Until Transformers 1 happened. That changed everything. I have to get back to that. I remember writing the script for a theoretical Between the Lions movie because I was just feeling nostalgic over that. Like there was just I don't know. I've had my fair share of fan fictions. Oh, I wrote I was starting to write my own continuation of the Neverending Story just because I wanted more. So continuations they could just help you. Whether it's like you just want to see this happen or you just you're having a rough time in your life and you just need oh Bailey says BRB, that's okay, we'll continue anyway. Yeah, we can move on to the next thing anyway. I want to talk like going back to talking about kind of like the drawbacks of Indian corporate animation. So I really wanted to bring out my issues with corporate animation. I have 2 very important things here listed. And that is Pibby, Learning with Pibby being canceled, and the Infinity Train problem. Oh,
God, Infinity Train.
yeah, actually, I feel like I should discuss this first. I wrote down to remind myself to talk about like how you see indie versus corporate kind of happen not only in animation but in other areas. And one that's like most notable to me is the area of VTubing. Obviously, I don't have any sorts of problems with VTubers or VTubing. I don't hate it. I don't understand some of it, but that's just a personal thing. That's just like just a personal opinion, whatever. I don't care about, people can like what they want. I don't, I'm not gonna shit on VTubers or people who enjoy VTubers. But I've noticed there's like the corporate side, and then there's the indie side. Like the corporate side, I hear about so many restrictions that the VTubers go through, and sometimes it causes all sorts of like drama, and it causes them to quit or graduate, as they call it. I don't know. I keep hearing stories and stuff about like things just going down the drain with corporate VTubers, and I know like indie VTubers obviously will have just as much drama, but I don't know. Like I see that VTubers can be whoever they want to be, whatever they want to be, and they are so happy with it. And while like corporate VTubers obviously like their job too, I definitely see this pattern of VTubers just graduating because they just don't like what their corporate office is doing or what direction they're going towards. And just
Okay.
I like just explaining that, I want to apply it exactly to animation, because the exact same thing that happens over there happens with animation. Like indie animation has all sorts of creative freedoms, and they can do whatever they want. They can make whatever stories they want. It's limitless. But under a corporate office, you sell the rights to your idea. You sell the rights to your show. And now that is where I'd like to interject with Pibby being canceled and the Infinity Train problem. Like Pibby was amazing. I know it was like a little maybe ambitious, with like using all sorts of other IPs and stuff. It was maybe a little. I'm sure it was a little difficult to do, for them to do, and
I can only imagine that felt like a food fight situation.
yeah, I'm sure it did. But it's easier to kind of see like the problem with this situation when it comes to Infinity Train, because we
Didn't they take it down so you can't even legally watch it anywhere in the States?
yes, like you can't. So the problem is, Owen Dennis, the creator, can't make more episodes because he sold the rights to the show to Cartoon Network. So they're not gonna let him do any more. And it's just,
Shockingly, I know another example of this kind of thing.
yeah.
The Nightmare Before Christmas, actually.
Really?
Yes, actually. Because Disney was so tight-gripped about the characters Tim Burton was making, to the point that unless he worked with them, he physically could not do anything with his characters. Like, originally Sally was supposed to be more femme fatale.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh wow.
because everything was basically signed over to Disney, even the doodles on the napkins he had with him for lunch were suddenly Disney property because those characters belong to Disney
Wow. Yeah, that's
instead of himself.
yeah, exactly. That's like the biggest problem I have with corporate animation. It's just once you sell
Disney
your
in
show,
particular.
it's theirs. Like Smiling Friends made a whole joke about it. That's my IP to sit on and do nothing with. Right? That's exactly the problem that they have. Like they're like, I love this show. Oh, now I don't like it. Okay, no more show. And you know what? I'm sorry, but you can't make more because we kind of legally have the rights to it. So, bye. And it's just like this great idea and this great story, like Infinity Train. It's just, it's terrible.
That shockingly gives me an idea for like another podcast thing we could do, which is niche interests.
No, for sure. Yeah, we could do that.
Like
yeah,
the
you jot
interests
that
that
down.
only like each of us have.
I have a long list of interests only I have.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
you
but
can
you would
do
probably
that.
dominate that thing, dude.
Yeah, you can put that under
the main
podcast
reason-
18.
Yeah. I'm gonna put that down like right now.
But yeah, I'm forever pissed off about the whole Infinity Train thing. I love that show so
blame you.
much. Yeah, I love it so
I actually
much.
really would have loved to see it. I never got a chance.
You never got to watch it?
Does any
Oh, Oh, once
No,
you
because like
do,
during the times that you were basically holding like your celebratory stream thing, I was too busy taking care of my mother.
oh yeah, no, that's understandable. Okay. Here's the thing. I'm gonna admit it. I resorted to pirating Infinity Train. Here's why. Because Max took it away. They had it on the streaming service Max. Like it's a good place to watch it, right? Great, I'll watch it there. If they're not gonna make more, I'll just rewatch the series. Then Max takes it away, and along with all sorts of other Cartoon Network shows. So it's like if I can't even watch the show
Okay,
that they're
let's go to Heroes.
oh, that's another good one. Yeah, they took away
I
OKKO.
love it.
Let's Be Heroes. I have that
It's
pirated
on
too.
Hulu.
It's not. It
It's
is on
on Hulu,
Hulu
I know
now.
that.
Yeah.
It was always on Hulu. It just was in order with the episodes on Max.
Actually, I look real quick. Cause the Infinity Train is not with because they put all the Cartoon Network stuff.
I loved OKKO with the episodes
It's
I
not-
was able to watch with Miss Scorpid.
Yeah,
The
I
Hulu,
love that show
because
too.
It was so fun. I even had my own OCs and everything. I managed to hit the nail on the head with the art style. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to do that.
Yeah, it's
Plus,
really
on
good.
top of that, it's genuinely one of the few things where the creator outright says everything you make in that can be considered canon. Any character you make, oh, guess what? They're
Yeah.
directly in the
It's
show.
so
because
vast.
it can fit. It can fit.
Yeah.
And it's actually able to properly be executed in a way that's less toxic than anything with like an indie shows such as Has Been Hotel, where Vivzy Pop outright said that before in a tweet that is considered to be very poorly aged and I will admit very old news these days,
Mm-hmm.
that at one point she ended up saying that if she ever made a TV show, every ship possible would be canon. Of which,
Wow.
oh dear sweet God, opened a can of worms with the ship wars.
Jeez, I bet.
Which is a reason why I actually left the Has Been Hotel / Hell of a Boss fandom, because it's just like, dude, I'm tired of looking at Twitter
Mm-hmm.
and seeing nothing but a toxic bitch whining about something that is genuinely inconsequential to their lives.
Do we have a podcast about shipping, or are we gonna talk about? I think we were gonna talk about that under the fandom one, weren't we? I think we were.
I have
Where's
no
the- where's
idea
the-
what.
The
Anyone
Fire
has
Grounds.
changed over the years? There are no ship wars.
Yeah, we should talk about ship wars.
Dude, if we're doing that, then I'm going to have to bring up the drama that happened at the end of My Hero Academia's manga.
Oh my gosh.
Because, holy shit! Like, I know I constantly use that as, like, the example of bad fandom, but overall, it's just... A lot of the fandoms that are considered toxic and horrible usually just have a very loud, explosive minority. That's how furries got their kind of reputation. With, like, the ones that were, like, really weird.
Yeah.
It was those ones that were just the most vocal. The rest were just
Right.
kind of chill, being artists and just being like, yeah, I like to cosplay as a dog sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of fandoms, that reminds me. That actually brought up a good point. In my mind to bring up. Is that when Infinity Train got canned and they were taking it away, people started to protest and start the movement, finish Infinity Train or continue Infinity Train, and it was number one on Twitter internationally, all across the board for like nearly a full day. It was the most amazing thing ever. And it's just crazy to me that despite all the love, all the effort, all the dollars being waved in their faces, and the corporate people are still like, we're sticking to our decision, no more show.
On top of all that, what about... There's also the thing where they do handle finales, and sometimes it's the fan base that's just really loud about it, where they want more show, but they can't give you more show because the show is genuinely over.
Yeah. But
Gravity Falls would pop to mind a little bit.
it's more, but
iCarly too.
right. It's
But
more.
iCarly was for different reasons, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's more valid for Infinity Train because they never finished. They had more story to tell, and they never finished it. Infinity Train never really basically got resolved. It was just, I mean, it's anthology from season to season, but it's still like it's telling an overarching. It's building a mystery through all seasons, all 4 seasons. It builds this
And
mystery.
you never get to it.
And you never get to it. There's history, there's lore that was going to be explained, but we're not gonna get it because these corporate animation offices, don't. And of course they're wiping it out. I just checked Disney Plus. They don't have it on there. Disney Plus was gaining all the Cartoon Network stuff from Hulu. They don't, it's just, this is why I resorted to pirating Infinity Train. If I can't enjoy it anywhere, I'm just gonna enjoy it illegally because that's all I could do. That's the only way I can enjoy my favorite shows ever.
Honestly, I feel no remorse about piracy, considering that a lot of the monopolies that happen right now are just way too big for their britches.
And
Also, on
honestly,
top of that, in order to prevent themselves from being even called monopolies, a lot of them will go for shell companies.
yeah. And I mean, it really is only illegal if you're like selling tickets for people to come watch it, like just having
Technically,
it.
yeah.
Because it's like owning a DVD, right? I'm just owning a copy of it. But if I'm like, if I start like charging people to watch it, then it's legal, like piracy.
Technically, but even then, piracy to me is just like, yo-ho-ho, I can't find my favorite thing, but I know my favorite thing is really good, so it's worth pirating, yo-ho-ho!
If buying isn't owning, piracy isn't illegal. And we'll talk about that at some point.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah.
And then with the
That'll
whole
be my
creativity-
topic.
Yeah.
Y'all talking about piracy when I'm right here.
Yeah, John, what do you have to add to this whole just corporate animation being a bitch thing? And Connor too, if you have any comments. I want you guys to have some floor.
If buying isn't owning, piracy isn't stealing. Like, I don't care if the multi-billion-dollar corporation loses a few bucks.
Yeah, really, it's like
They can afford to lose a few. They can afford to lose a few bucks. I can't afford to waste my money trying to buying 15 different streaming services just to find out they don't have what I want.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to use your limited disposable income on basic bullshit that they should be handing you anyways.
Oh, and you know what's like? Remember there was that game Concord, right? That people paid for and they took it away like within the first day.
Oh yeah.
People paid for that game and they're like, you don't get to play anymore because it's not doing well. Like what gives? What gives? Like you can't just.
You can't
I don't
just
know.
take that away and then not give people their money back at the bare minimum.
Yeah, like even if it's a flop, like give it a chance. Let it do some numbers first.
Elemental is a beautiful example of that too.
Yeah.
Which is one of the few things I do give a corporate win to Disney for. Whereas they originally released Elemental on the same opening week as Across the Spider-Verse, which already basically guarantees a failure for that kind of film, given that they're competing against a Marvel movie,
Yeah.
not to mention one of the most anticipated ones of that year.
Oh, that's another thing. Corporate offices, they tend to just sabotage some of their IPs and stuff. Like,
Oh yeah, definitely.
they just botch the marketing. Like there
Ever
are
heard of
movies.
Strange World?
Exactly right. Like I haven't heard about it until it was out in theaters.
I only
when that
got
came
2
out.
trailers for it during its entire run.
Yeah, there's that
2
movie Under the
random
Boardwalk.
natural trailers.
I like.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, exactly. Under the Boardwalk. It's about
it.
crabs, I think. I barely know about it because they didn't bother marketing it. They didn't care and they just sabotaged their own stuff. So their other bigger IPs get more attention because they don't give a crap. That's another thing. That's another thing about corporate animation. They favor bigger IPs that are more successful than
They're
giving
more
original ideas a chance.
Al, what you're talking about is they prefer stuff that is generally for a more generalized audience in order to maximize profits versus new, fresh ideas that could probably only have a small niche, which is too
Yeah.
big of a risk in this day and age, given that they're constantly trying to pump out enough to make money.
Right.
That's why I find most Marvel movies to be overrated these days, given
Yeah.
that they're all built to just cater to one massive thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
They
that's an
always
issue.
they always have the same exact well, that just happened kind of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they
I
also have
feel
the same plot lines all the time too. It's pathetic.
yeah, and I think that's the issue. And it's even a bigger issue when they just keep the rights to those original ideas that don't get a chance stuck in the back of a drawer, right? And somewhere in some storage unit in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's crazy to me. Like, they don't give him a chance. Like, just.
I have a question.
Yeah?
You know Treasure Planet, right?
I love Treasure Planet.
Did you know it was meant to have a sequel?
Yes, I did. They never went for it.
Yeah, the guy that was like supposed to come back as one of the villains. I can't remember who. But I could probably ask one of my other friends who's a little bit more invested in Disney and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up, they called him while he was on the way to go record voice lines for it and said, "We're canning it."
That's crazy.
Yep, and the reason why it flopped so bad is because it was released the same week as Hercules.
Yeah. Wow. You know another thing.
Hercules dominating the box office. They had no
Right.
reason to really pay attention to Treasure Planet, despite the absolute beauty that it is.
I love both movies to death. They're so good.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hercules is definitely up there with one of my favorite Disney films. My
Yeah.
entire favorite has to go to Treasure Planet, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's just genuinely so different.
Yeah. Oh, you know that actually I was gonna segue back into indie animation, but I do want to say corporate animation well, yeah, it is animation. Sabotaging their own stuff when it comes to that. It's crazy to me that there was an instance where they sabotaged one of their biggest IPs, which was Looney Tunes, with Coyote versus Acme.
Looney
That
Tunes is Warner
movie.
Brothers.
Did I say Disney? No, I
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
I
someone
was.
said Disney.
I thought I said just corporate animation. Oh no, wait.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to specify when you're flipping like different studios, just to show sheer example. That way, it can clear up confusion.
No, yeah, of course. I guys, did I really say Disney?
Are live.
Here, I can go back and see if I said Disney.
You might have just said corporate, but I might have
Makes
just
sense.
registered you as still talking about Disney, and I'm
Yeah,
just like, huh?
I said corporate, but I mean that's just a general term. I didn't think I need to specify.
Yeah,
but-
it flopped so bad is because
Well,
my
you know
brain
what?
just kind
It's
of thought we
whatever.
were still talking about Disney flicks. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Well, let's go back to Warner Brothers sabotaged their Looney Tunes IP by canning the finished, might I add, finished Wile E. Coyote versus Acme for a fucking tax write-off. It's
I
like,
hate that.
yeah, it just what
Dude,
made
just
him
release your movie and get your tax write-off.
Yeah, they would have made so much money. I mean, the amount of fans that were excited for that movie too, and the people that
Dude,
made
I
it
would love
like,
to see a lawyer case with
gosh.
that. I would have loved to see a Looney
Yeah.
Tunes styled lawyer case. That would have
yeah,
been funny as hell.
It would. Could you imagine just like you're just an animator trying to survive paycheck to paycheck, in the corporate studio, it's just the big guy comes up with a cigar and he's like, the movie that you've been working hard on, it's done by now. Yeah, we're canning it. You will never see your work in public. All the rights to it, we own it. No one can see it, not even you. Just what? That's, that situation itself needs to be satirized with an animation.
Yeah.
I needed the money, but it would have been cool to see the finished project.
That really would have been
yeah,
nice.
the whole team had so much fun on it. They had fun on the movie,
And then
and
there
we never
was
got
the
to see it.
flop of the destroyed planet Earth or something like that. With
Oh,
Porky and Daffy.
yeah, they gave us the day the Earth blew up over Wile E. Coyote versus Acme.
I think I would have preferred the funny lawyer case because that
Me
kind of
too.
felt like an hour-long classic Bugs Bunny cartoon too.
Yeah, I would have preferred the other one too. I haven't watched the
Side note-
day the Earth blew up yet,
I
but
know this is something I purely want to point out about Bugs Bunny because I love it. That guy just cross dresses for sports, and it's so funny.
I know, guys. Bugs Bunny's just he's
And
based.
he straight up probably could just walk into Mordor.
He could. He could. Hey, what's up, Doc?
No, just knocks on the door going, evil volcano inspection!
Yes, I stole it from a Tumblr post. People who get it. I love you.
That's funny. Well, all right, so we got maybe 30 minutes left on this podcast because we don't want it to drown out too long. I wanted to talk about indie animation. So you know, this, I feel like when concepts and ideas just get canned by studios, they should have a system in place where they can give the rights back. So the people who create these things,
a special clause of contract.
I know, yeah, but that's why that it's an issue. We people should just be able to make contracts that allow for that in the first place. That would solve everything. Like, I'm sure they have their reasons. I'm sure they do it for some reason or another. But like, come on, like, there's so many just money makers that just don't happen because they get canned, and the studio will never work with this certain IP.
I think I might know how that kind of thing happens too.
And straight up, it could be in like the what the hell is it? It's like the subtext of legalese. I'm trying to remember what it is. Fine print.
Yeah, fine
It could
print.
be hidden in the fine print.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Legalese is a very complicated language to try and figure out because
A lot of it comes down to trying to cut through the red tape and boil it down to what it basically means, and then asking for
Right.
clarification on it.
Right. Yeah.
Which then causes more legalese, which requires more red tape cutting, and it's a horrifying cycle.
Right. But like, just, you know, we don't have to be in depth on it. Just straight up, just
I know.
if there's just some way we could just have, like, let creators have the rights to their things back if it flops or gets canned or whatever. Just let people take it to another studio or go indie, right? Find a group of animators, people, like, it might not be the same quality again, but just it's for me, it's all about the story. It's all about the story being told. It's all about animation thriving in general.
Yeah,
Like,
but
just
in order
let
for
it
an animation
happen.
to thrive, you have to have a nice little team set up, and on top of all that,
Exactly, yeah.
there's the aspect of the time. Especially if it's doing like frame by frame stuff, which is usually how animation goes, it could take a long while. Whereas 3D animation could be a little bit easier given that you could just make a model skeleton and then puppet whatever you need on it. For 2D stuff, you're dealing with a lot of hand drawings, trying
Right,
to make
yeah,
sure
I know.
shit's on model. It's a lot to take in there. Plus, there's always the aspect of the art style just generally changing over time and growing into itself.
Right,
Examples being Adventure Time and Steven Universe.
yeah. But I'm just going off about how, like, if creators can keep the rights, they could just, it's all about keeping the story, right? It's the animation, everything else
also
can be
have-
figured out on its own time. Like, just when you have an amazing concept and story, people should be able to keep that. Like, they should just,
Yeah.
you know, if they go indie, if someone makes a show and they take it to a corporate office and, you know, they can it or don't like it, they should just be allowed to, you know, try indie, right? There's you gotta consider there's a rising industry with indie. There's Glitch and there's
for at least
and there's
5 years now.
yeah, there's all sorts of, so there is an industry, like there are small indie companies that people can go to, that people could just straight up go to for their show ideas. Like, look at Glitch, they're taking ideas like they're a corporate office of their own. But obviously, you know, it's indie where they have a lot more creative freedom and they have a lot of
the risk and reward thing, and there's also testing. Your
Right,
pilot
exactly.
is how you test things.
yeah. I mean,
Like,
pilots
back
don't
when
change
the-
between indie animation and corporate animation. I feel like you always still gotta have that
The pilot
one
is the rough
episode
idea
that
of how the entire vibe of the show will feel within like about 15 to 30 minutes.
exactly.
Example, Hazbin Hotel. Another
Yeah.
example, Hell of a Boss. But those are things for another day, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. I did
'Cause
want to
we need
point out,
dissect
like
about that.
while corporate animation clearly has its problems, I feel like
So does indie.
yeah, indie animation, like, I feel like I've
But
written
that can
down
just be
here.
attributed. And
Yeah.
that can also just be attributed to both nostalgia feels, wanting to stand out against the grain with with today's culture, which is rather important these days in order for political commentary to be made. as well as just general social commentary.
Right.
Because it's a way to talk about the state of society without, directly talking about the state of society. It's like trying to cover it up with satire,
Yeah.
which has also become less ironic of the coping mechanism as it was in the 90s, and more of just a marketing tactic. Like example, Rick and Morty. A line from Rick and Morty where it's just like, universe doesn't care, we're all gonna die, come watch TV.
Yeah.
That level of satire is now just marketing rather than this ironic satire that was of the 90s where characters such as Daria would be able to thrive.
Right. Wait, actually, John, Connor, do you have any thoughts you want to add? I'm sorry, I feel like you guys are just kind of in the background listening to all this.
I had one for a while, but I never had a chance to talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm
We
so
really
sorry.
need to develop a better way of letting everyone have the floor. Connor,
I'm honestly just kind of tired.
yeah, Connor, you
To be
go
for
ahead.
real.
That's okay. We're almost done anyway. Connor, I want
Mine
you
was-
to be able to have your thoughts. Go ahead. Have the floor.
My thought was about how I don't like how corporate animation can just be like, oh hey, this is gone now. I have beef with Netflix. I wanted to watch Pokemon X and Y again. It's gone off Netflix.
Wait, they
I
took
wanna
it
watch
off?
Yeah, Sun and Moon too.
No!
X, Y, Z, and Sun and Moon aren't on Netflix anymore, and I have beef with them for that because I wanted to rewatch them. I watched X, Y.
I never got
so
to watch
much.
them. Now I want to beef with them. I was gonna get more characterization from there.
Yeah, I don't like Netflix, kind of.
Yeah, I
hate
agree with that.
Netflix.
That's another thing. Like, we have to talk about that in a later podcast. Physical versus streaming. I think we did have that written down. 'Cause that's
Yeah,
a
it's
big
on there.
issue. It's a major issue.
Physical versus digital.
Yeah. Is there anything else, John, Connor, you want to add at all?
I don't think so.
Not that I can think of.
Okay. So I was just gonna lead into like my issues with indie animation. I
I'll have a
mean,
lot
it's
more
like
to say in episode 2.
that's okay. Yeah. This is just more my personal opinion. I just want to put out there, but I feel like indie animation. I feel like some of the shows they've done like have been getting popular, just tend to be like a lot more dark and edgy. Like I mean, Hazbin Hotel, Hell of a Boss, Murder Drones, the big ones. Like I like them. Like
The Amazing
I've
Digital
watched them.
Circus.
Amazing Digital Circus. I have no problem with them. I just think like we need more variety. Like more stuff like Ed's World, more stuff like animator versus animation. The stuff Ellen Becker makes that counts. Honestly, those are entire series that are out there. That counts.
What I hear,
for
what
sure.
you're seeking, from what I hear, what you're seeking is just more simplistic storytelling.
Yeah, more simplistic. Like
Stuff
I
that
feel
doesn't-
like
Stuff that doesn't require like a long arc
right.
that spans like whole seasons just to get one outcome for one problem.
Right, yeah. Or like, just like everything's just like so drab and pessimistic and I don't know, like my idea for Chippewa is like it's kind of slice of life, but at the same time it'll have its like dark plot points sprinkled through, it'll have its moments, but still like overall just very just
Early
general.
Adventure Time.
Yeah, like early Adventure Time, it's just like how Adventure Time goes from
Early
childish
Steven
to
Universe.
mature. Yeah. Like I want Chippewa to be like, it's just so friendly and it's like everything's just kind of weird and it just kind of gets a little darker along the line, but it doesn't like. It's still, it is what it's supposed to be all throughout. But I just feel like. I don't know, some indie animation shows just rely on being really freaking dark and edgy and being like, the world is just terrible.
Like cynicism.
Cynicism?
Cynicism.
Yeah.
Pessimism.
Yeah,
having
exactly.
Cynical
Yeah,
outlook, sarcasm.
I feel like way too many like
it's
shows
looking at more towards
in the
a
indie-
90s feel
Yeah, I feel like
rather
a lot of
than-
them which
than a lot of the early to mid 2010s.
yeah, which again is not a problem. Like you can't make a show that's just all sunshine rainbows. That's not what I'm saying at
Yeah.
all, right? And I'm not.
I know, and I'm not
just
taking
like
it like that.
yeah,
I'm just trying to
it's
help
kinda
you
like-
be able to critically
right.
put your stuff down a little bit
Well,
more.
no, of course. I just like I want to see the indie animation version of what Steven Universe was. It was lighthearted, it was fun, but it was dark as well. It had its really dark, freaky scenes, and it was just crazy. Like, I love it
also
because
can
it's
tackle
nice.
topics such as war, PTSD,
and-
mental
yeah.
health issues.
Yeah, exactly. It's peaceful, it's nice, but it does get dark. It does get heavy when it needs to be. Instead of like Has Been Hotel, where they're like, well, this fucking sucks, we're in hell, right? Or just murder drones, or it's all dystopian. Oh, the new one, the Gaslight District, I couldn't really get behind that one because it just kind of, it followed the pattern that I'm just kind of noticing, where it's just like, it's the apocalypse, there are no more humans, except for this one that we want to kill. It's just, I don't know, it's just, that's how I feel about it.
It might just not be your taste too.
I think it's just it too. Of course, I mean, I prefaced it with, it's just my personal opinion, and it's
Always good
that's
to
just
remind
how
the
I see it.
audience.
Yeah, and I'm just stating it because maybe some people might agree. Some people might agree, some people might not, and that's okay. But I feel like indie animation, or at least the big guns, they need more variety. Like, I just want to see more. Right, I want to see some more genres, like slice of life and more fantasy, mystery. I don't know. I want to see more of that kind of stuff. Like, this is another thing. What?
I've been noticing a pattern with a lot of stuff you like, and you seem to fall into like more of the slice of life and lighthearted stuff rather than stuff that has too much hardcore story.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I love hardcore story. Like, don't get me wrong. I live for it.
Which makes me kind of surprised that you don't like stuff like filler episodes, because in my opinion, those are the episodes that let both characters and audience breathe.
Yeah. I mean, filler episodes are okay, but I guess, like, I don't know.
It
For
doesn't
me,
have,
it
they don't fundamentally change things.
yeah.
Then they're good.
Yeah. I just like shows that they can have episodes that feel like filler, but can still have some sort of small aspect that is essential to the story. That's another thing that Steven Universe does. I fully believe that Steven Universe does not have filler at all. There is always one little tiny tidbit, something small, something incredibly subtle, that is entirely just essential to the main plot, Steven's development, and it's just, I like that. Like, there are episodes in Steven Universe that it's just, there's no gem stuff, that the crystal gems don't even appear in it, and it's just Steven talking with like the people of Beach City, or helping them out with something. I love that, because somehow they still just add some tiny little thing that feeds into the overarching story. Like, I don't mind filler, but if it does contribute to the overall story, I live for that. I love that in story writing.
May I offer another example of that?
Yeah.
Adventure Time.
Adventure Time does it too. Like,
The snail in particular.
yeah, like you got Finn and Jake grow up through the show. Like, they learn things.
They literally do. Finn literally grows older. It's emotional maturity there.
Right. But yeah, I don't know.
We've seen Steven ripped to shreds. Steven just tends to suffer a bit more PTSD when he gets older.
right.
Finn, I'm not sure about, because I haven't seen anywhere past where like we last left off, and I don't even remember
Right.
where we left off.
Yeah,
when
that's
we last
okay.
watched Adventure Time.
I'm sure we'll get back to it sometime. But yeah, it's like I don't know. Like, I think I've just grown a particular taste of TV shows, like,
You
and
really
how
have,
they work.
Right,
yeah.
Because I noticed that, like, with a bunch of the shows that I like, that compared to the ones that you like, there are very wildly differing opinions.
For sure. Like, I mean, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer because every episode is a new adventure. And it doesn't, like, it has its dark themes, but it's another thing where, like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is slice of life combined with adventure. I like that. It's like a Spider-Man story, right? It's like Buffy's trying to live her life in high school, but she's dealing with vampires, ghouls, monsters. Supernatural is about Sam and Dean trying to be normal brothers, normal people, and they just they face literally everything on the earth that's trying to get them. But at the same time, they just have these fun moments, and with fun characters. Like, Like, I love slice of life type shows and stories, but I love it when there's just some sort of small, subtle, overarching thing that's going on that just branches through it. It just kind of branches through each one.
Whereas, in my opinion, I find the shonen genre to be a lot more entertaining.
Yeah.
Which is the general action adventure such as Demon Slayer,
Right.
where I love seeing the characters grow, develop, and get the absolute loving, ever-loving shit beaten out of them. Which
Like-
is very frequent, and it kind of feels hard to breathe here and there.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, I feel like the shows I've listed really do, like, let the
all
audience.
Dude, I looked through the shows that you liked, and all of them match the slice of life, easy-going aspect with heavy-hitting Western animation
Yeah.
and very heavily Western themes.
Yeah. They somehow do let you kind of breathe from everything. Like,
That's why I like One
yeah.
Piece.
Yeah, the way Supernatural works is like they have, even if there's action in every episode, there's still an episode that's just like you take a break from the overarching story, and it's just like, okay, Sam and Dean fighting a ghost again, and even if it's action, it's still like, okay, good, all right, we're just taking a break from what the fuck just happened in the last episode.
Yeah, dude, that's like one of my biggest problems with like modern anime, honestly, because
Really?
I like filler. Yeah, I love filler. I love having that kind of stuff because it lets
Yeah.
me fucking breathe.
Yeah,
It lets
exactly.
the characters fucking breathe.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, so many modern anime, they definitely just hold no punches. And a lot of the stuff that is slower to get into, I find myself being drawn into very quickly, such as Dragon Ball Z or One
Uh-huh.
Piece. Because
Right.
they have the feeling of a Saturday morning cartoon from like the nostalgic days of the 80s and 90s, where they have that animated charm that you just can't quite get. That
Yeah.
because it's painted. You can tell it's painted. You can tell it has the classic charm of old animation because it resembles stuff like Tiny Toons.
Right. How even like we've been watching Breaking Bad. We started Breaking Bad recently.
Yeah,
and
I know.
that
I tried
show.
to sit in, but I kept passing
Oh,
out.
that's
I'm
okay.
sorry. I've been trying to get Julian to give me like some recaps. That way, you guys don't have to like hear me whine about I don't know what's going on because
That's
you
okay.
outright said I'm not going to go back and then wait for people, and I'm not going to force you to do that because like
Yeah.
you already gave me warning.
Yeah, I don't like waiting because of how Adventure Time happened. We just like quit in the middle of it and like I don't know. I
was an
I
accident
want to
there.
avoid another Adventure Time issue. So I'm just like, if you can make it, great. If not, we'll just recap you. But like Breaking Bad also has like
just the intro
even for such an intense show, it does just like the whole show just starts with action and then like, okay, let's settle down and see how the characters
Yeah.
progress right back to where they were before.
Yeah,
like we
another
just
show that I feel like would be like really heavily intense and should probably be talked about a little bit more would probably be BoJack Horseman.
yeah, I've heard a
Oh,
great
God.
deal of that.
Dude, I'm just gonna warn you now.
Mm-hmm.
It's very depressing,
Oh dang,
which is why I like it.
That's what I've heard about it.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly depressing and
Wow.
dark, and like there's no real conclusive end to like, oh yeah, character X gets better. No,
Wow.
it doesn't work like that. And,
That's
like a lot
crazy.
of the friendships and stuff you want to work,
Yeah,
you want to
see-
have work, they don't.
That's
But
kind of like
What I liked about them is that they portray people in a far more realistic manner.
yeah.
And one thing I really like about them is how they represent a more less talked about and less accepted sexuality going on too, which is asexuality.
I see.
It's very refreshing to see that in my
Right.
opinion because you don't get many shows that have accurate depictions of mental health.
Yeah.
And they even talk about the one big grand gesture, that whole trope
Right. Yeah.
where it's just like one giant gesture fixes everything. They talk about that and how it's a crock of shit.
Dang.
I love it. But that could also fall into the whole thing of misconstrued media, which I think could be an interesting thing of art versus artist.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So let's just keep that on the back burner there. I've already said enough.
Right, yeah, we can get back to that in another podcast. John and Connor, do you have any thoughts to add? I'm sorry, we'll develop a system soon. We can just like
Yeah.
give each person
What
like
was it? The dark and edgy stuff?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
talking about how indie animation seems to follow the pattern of each like show idea that they come out with is just follows this dark, edgy storyline, and I want to see more variety.
Honestly, yeah. It does
Yeah.
feel like that.
It does.
Imagine if there was like another show that could be almost like Lupin.
Yeah, like a good mix of edgy and comedy.
Exactly. Yeah,
I feel
I
like
want
the
to see
Peter
more of
Pan would
that.
probably be up that alley.
Because Lupin is kind of just like an edgy, like a dark comedy. Like the like idea of it is dark, being about criminal life, but to do it in a way that makes it funny.
Right. See, my problem with the Gaslight District is that it's more like visual comedy rather than like story comedy. And it's just I
Okay,
don't know.
so
It's
it's more
taking itself to,
slapstick.
yeah. It's the animation is slapstick, but the story is just it takes itself so seriously.
That might have been
Yeah.
like the idea for the contrast to be like, here, let's have some silly slapstick comedy in the middle of our super
be.
edgy story where it's just like, it doesn't
Yeah.
quite hit.
Right. John, were you gonna say something?
Sorry.
Yeah, because Lupin is also kind of slapstick.
Yeah.
But it's like like I said, the base concept is dark, but then you get a good mix of slapstick and story like comedy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The writing,
I want more of that.
the writing I feel like should match a lot of the tones of the show. Like, if you can establish your characters within one episode to be like, okay, this is your personality overall, generally, and then have that stay consistent along with the comedy skits, I feel like that's where your stuff's gonna really hit.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
in real life, Lupin would probably be a horrible person. Like he's a criminal, he's a womanizer, but they write him in such a way that he's fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like some of
Yeah.
the worst people on Earth can genuinely be the most most fun people to watch on TV. Heavens, that's why like I think reality TV might be popular too.
Yeah.
There's an episode of of part 2 of Lupin where he steals the Jesus statue.
Oh my god, he what?
He steals the giant Jesus statue.
Oh my god.
Dude, not gonna lie, that sounds amazing and literally
That's
reminds me of one of my very few, very loved live action shows, Leverage, where they straight up had to fake a miracle to expose a guy who was basically just trying to sell a church after having a guy beat up a priest.
Wow.
They didn't
Yeah,
take too
there's al-
kindly to that.
Also, for some reason, Lupin often dresses up as the Mustache Man as a disguise.
The Mustache Man?
Angry Austrian Mustache Man.
That's
Oh
funny.
no!
That's awesome.
Oh no! Dude, do you
That's
have
actually
this?
the plot of one of the movies. Is like one of the main villains is still trying to hold on to the whole Germany will rise again bullshit. And he thinks Angry Austrian Mustache Man is still alive. So
John.
Lupin do trick him, pretends to be Mustache Man.
Jonathan.
Yes.
I need to watch this series with you immediately. Do you have it pirated?
Yes.
John has everything pirated.
Yeah, what don't I have pirated?
Exactly.
Do you have One Piece pirated?
If buying isn't owning.
Not yet.
Yippee! Pirating a show about pirates! Julie and I already have it pirated. We still need to finish watching Drum Island.
Oh man. All right.
There's some great shit in Lupin because
Yeah.
it gets that perfect balance of dark and funny.
If you can do dark comedy and satire right, it's perfect. Like,
Yes.
personally, with that kind of thing, I feel like British humor, very dry, sarcastic, and mild, and very satirical, is often the best way to go with comedy, just in
Oh
my
my
own
God.
personal taste.
You would love Lupin the Third Part 6 then, because the first half of it takes place in Britain.
Dude, I just like British comedy because they're so satirical and sarcastic. I love
Also,
sarcasm. I love dry humor.
Lupin goes up against Sherlock Holmes.
Oh my gosh, that's
But
awesome.
my
like
God, I need to
but
see
like
that.
a modern Tumblr sexy man take on Sherlock Holmes.
Okay, you gotta hand that over to me because I need to know if that looks like Benedict Cumberbatch. Because I live on Tumblr. I know what the Tumblr sexy man looks like. And the perfect one that has been deduced years ago when Sans was the #1 was Jack Skellington.
He's a no mic. That's their Sherlock
Beautiful.
Holmes.
Also, Connor, do you have any input to give? Oh my god, that...
Oh, Connor's
Yeah,
muted.
that fits.
I didn't know I was muted.
Oh,
Yeah,
I listened
I
to
was just
something and
asking
never.
you.
I listened to something minutes ago and never unmuted.
oh.
Yeah,
think
I
I
was just
better
gonna ask
than
you if
you
you had
then.
any thoughts to add to this kind of thing, like any kind of bits on what you think would be a good way to handle things.
Not
Since
really.
that's what we're all talking about.
That's
No
alright.
ideas
I-
on how like animation studios could handle like better characters and add more variety to their stuff?
Not really.
Yeah, it seems like podcast 2. You'll have a lot to talk about since you
It seems
wrote
balanced.
yeah, you were the only one who like wrote any points for that one, so
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
have the floor entirely on that one. Well, yeah, obviously not
okay,
entirely,
I can talk
entirely
for
like
5 hours on Reed Schwarzer's character development.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, if we're also talking about tropes, I am so going to talk about a lot of my favorite ones because, shockingly, I love a lot of the classic ones. And tropes are pretty prevalent in my... Is it an occupation if I don't get paid for it? Or is it just called a hobby?
No, it's just
I think it's just a hobby then.
Yeah, my hobby requires me to have some knowledge on tropes. Because
Yeah.
I feel like that second one could also lean into another topic I think we could cover, which is the death of media literacy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh
we
boy,
could.
that.
Yeah.
That'll be
Oh,
one I
boy.
think all of us would be able to have a hand in talking about.
Yeah, you could put that one
Because-
under podcast 19 unless like there's unless there's some sort of unless there's a podcast listed already that could just be a plot point or talking
I
point
feel
for.
like podcast 2 probably fit that best, given that we're talking about tropes that we like and dislike and
okay.
character writing. So we could talk about like character hot takes or something like that too.
Yeah, okay.
Like we could talk about our least and most favorites. I could definitely talk about a couple of mine because
Okay.
goodness fucking gracious, I have several.
Yeah. Of course, Connor, you can lead on that one. Like you can
Yeah.
Yeah,
say
you'll definitely-
everything you got to say for that one
Wait a minute.
cuz
Wait a minute.
I'd love to hear what you want to we have for
Oh,
that
I
one.
think I might have figured out our cycle.
What?
I think we might have figured out the cycle.
The cycle.
What if one of us? Yeah, what if one of that's just like we just transfer hosts for stuff like that?
We could.
Distractable does that.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
we
just
could.
do
We
that.
don't want to rip off. We don't want to rip off Markiplier.
No, I was
Yeah.
just thinking, just like since some of us are more knowledgeable about the topics than others, we could just pick the one who seems to have the most knowledge on a
Right.
particular topic,
Yeah, true.
such as Connor leading the floor with podcast 2.
Yeah, exactly. Like we could try that if we want to. We could definitely do that.
Yeah.
But of course,
I-
everyone will get a chance to speak on it. But yeah, if we want like
Yeah.
someone to lead a topic, we could try that.
Yeah, I feel like that could be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So well, we hit the 2-hour mark. I feel like we should probably
Probably stop soon. John
Yeah.
works tomorrow.
yeah.
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 So
And I still need the shower.
Right. So that'll be it for this one. We can revisit these topics sometime if we ever want to. Stay tuned for podcast 2. Don't know when it'll be. We'll figure it out. And it'll be over writing tropes in media that we like or dislike, and then talking about our favorite characters in works. You know that we should talk more about our favorite characters in that one. Then in that case, so I'll come up with a good list of my own favorite characters, and we can talk about what we like to see, we don't like, and Connor can take the lead on that topic. So thank you for listening.
Mischaracterization of Risha.
Yes.
I would love to talk about the mischaracterization of a lovely little character named Doma.
Yeah, perfect.
I have thoughts on him.
You guys will be able to eke out on that one. So
Yeah.
thank you for listening to whoever listens. There were people in chat on this stream, so thank you for attending. Sorry we didn't acknowledge your presence. I will probably do a normal stream some point next week or so. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe even this weekend. No promises. But for those listening from the future, hope you enjoy the next episodes. Yeah, that's just a new thing we were doing, and I hope it does well. And I think I already said everything I gotta say, so I'll mute the mics and enjoy maybe 5 minutes of silence so we can so when the stream ends, it doesn't cut up the end bit. So see you in the next one.